September 1976, West Berlin. David Bowie stood in the shadow of the Berlin Wall, a broken man seeking refuge in the divided city that perfectly mirrored his fractured psyche. The glamorous rock star who had conquered the world as Ziggy Stardust was gone, replaced by a cocaine-addicted artist desperate to rediscover his creative soul. What followed would be 3 years of self-imposed exile that produced some of the most innovative and influential music of his career, the Berlin Trilogy. This is the story of how David Bowie found salvation in the ruins of a divided city, creating art that was darker, more experimental, and ultimately more profound than anything he had achieved before. But to understand why Bowie fled to Berlin, you have to understand how completely his life had unraveled by 1976. The success of Ziggy Stardust had transformed him into a global superstar, but it had also trapped him in a character that no longer felt authentic. Years of heavy cocaine use had left him physically and mentally exhausted, paranoid, and creatively depleted. The Thin White Duke persona of his Station to Station album was a cry for help disguised as artistic expression, a character so cold and detached that it reflected Bowie's own emotional numbness. Berlin in the 1970s was a city haunted by its past and divided by its present, making it the perfect sanctuary for an artist seeking to rebuild his identity from the ground up. The city's atmosphere of tension and uncertainty, created by the constant presence of the wall and the ongoing Cold War, provided an environment where Bowie could explore darker, more introspective themes without the distractions of fame and celebrity culture that had consumed his life in Los Angeles and New York. The decision to work at Hansa Studios, located just meters from the Berlin Wall, was both practical and symbolic. The studio's unique location in the heart of the divided city provided inspiration and isolation in equal measure. The sound of guards patrolling the wall could be heard during recording sessions, adding an element of political tension that influenced the music's atmosphere and emotional content. This wasn't just a change of scenery, it was a deliberate choice to immerse himself in an environment that would challenge his artistic assumptions. The collaboration with Iggy Pop during this period was crucial to Bowie's artistic recovery. Working on Iggy's albums The Idiot and Lust for Life allowed Bowie to experiment with new sounds and production techniques without the pressure of his own star persona. As a producer and collaborator, he could explore musical territories that might have seemed too radical for a David Bowie album, while helping his friend overcome his own struggles with addiction and creative blocks. The first album of the trilogy, Low, emerged from sessions that were as much therapy as they were musical creation. The album's structure, with one side featuring fragmentary songs and another devoted to instrumental pieces, reflected Bowie's fractured mental state while pointing toward new possibilities for popular music. Working with producer Tony Visconti and keyboardist Brian Eno, Bowie created soundscapes that were simultaneously alien and deeply human, electronic yet emotional. Heroes, the trilogy's second installment, represented Bowie's growing confidence in his new artistic direction. The title track, inspired by a couple kissing by the Berlin Wall while under surveillance, became one of his most powerful and enduring songs. The recording process, which included Bowie singing the vocal while standing next to the mixing desk to create a sense of immediacy and intimacy, demonstrated his willingness to abandon conventional studio practices in service of artistic truth. The sessions for Heroes at Hansa Studios became legendary for their creative intensity and experimental approach. Robert Fripp's guitar work, created using Eno's ambient techniques, added layers of texture that transformed rock music into something approaching abstract art. The sound of the city itself became part of the recordings, with traffic noise and urban atmosphere bleeding into tracks that captured the essence of life in divided Berlin during the height of Cold War tensions. The recording process during this period was revolutionary in its approach to creativity and spontaneity. Bowie and his collaborators would often arrive at the studio without predetermined ideas, allowing the music to emerge organically from improvisation and experimentation. This method, influenced by Eno's oblique strategies cards and various chance operations, created music that felt fresh and unpredictable while maintaining emotional coherence and artistic purpose. The cultural context of late 1970s. Berlin provided crucial inspiration for the trilogy's themes and atmosphere. The city was a nexus of artistic experimentation, political tension, and cultural rebirth, attracting musicians, artists, and writers from around the world who were seeking alternatives to the commercial mainstream. Bowie became part of this community, attending art exhibitions, experimental theater performances, and underground music events that expanded his creative horizons. Lodger, the trilogy's final album, found Bowie fully embracing experimental techniques and global musical influences while maintaining the introspective quality that had defined his Berlin period. The album's use of chance operations and unconventional recording methods reflected his collaboration with Eno and his growing interest in art music concepts that challenged the boundaries between popular and avant-garde expression. Tracks like African Night Flight demonstrated his willingness to incorporate world music elements decades before such fusion became common in popular music. The personal transformation that occurred during these 3 years was as significant as the musical evolution. Bowie gradually overcame his cocaine addiction, rediscovered his passion for visual art and literature, and developed a more sustainable approach to creativity that would serve him for the rest of his career. The man who had entered Berlin as a burned-out rock star emerged as a mature artist, capable of balancing commercial appeal with genuine artistic innovation and personal authenticity. The influence of the Berlin Trilogy on subsequent popular music cannot be overstated. The album's integration of electronic elements, ambient textures, and experimental song structures provided a template for post-punk, new wave, and alternative rock that influenced countless artists throughout the 1980s and beyond. Musicians from Talking Heads to Radiohead have cited these albums as foundational influences on their own artistic development, demonstrating the trilogy's lasting impact on creative approaches to popular music. The trilogy also demonstrated that major artists could take significant creative risks without abandoning their audience entirely. While the albums were more challenging than Bowie's earlier work, they achieved both critical acclaim and commercial success, proving that listeners were ready for more sophisticated and experimental popular music when it was presented with conviction and craftsmanship. The Berlin years also marked a period of intense visual and conceptual innovation for Bowie. His photography, paintings, and stage designs during this era reflected the same minimalist aesthetic and emotional depth that characterized his musical output. This integration of different artistic media demonstrated his evolution from a performer who adopted personas to an artist who could express authentic personal vision. The political atmosphere of Berlin during the late 1970s inevitably influenced the trilogy's themes and emotional landscape. Living in a city divided by ideology provided daily reminders of human limitation and the possibility of transcendence. These experiences informed songs like Heroes, which transformed a moment of love observed near the Berlin Wall into a universal anthem of hope and defiance. The technical innovations achieved during the Berlin sessions extended far beyond the albums themselves, influencing recording practices and production techniques throughout the music industry. The use of ambient recording, found sounds, and chance-based composition methods pioneered during these sessions would become standard tools for experimental musicians in subsequent decades. Looking back, the Berlin Trilogy stands as David Bowie's most cohesive artistic statement. 3 albums that captured both personal struggle and creative breakthrough while influencing the direction of popular music for decades to come. The broken man who sought refuge in a divided city had emerged as an artist capable of transforming pain into transcendent art. The young man who fled to Berlin to escape his demons returned to the world as a mature artist who had learned to channel darkness into light, creating music that spoke to universal themes of alienation, hope, and redemption through creative expression. Sometimes the most beautiful art emerges from the deepest personal darkness.